Alright y'all, it's SJ, welcome back to the channel. And today, I am going to be mixing drums as part of an exercise for my advanced mixing techniques class. I'm taking at the master's program at Berklee College of Music, so let's go ahead and get right into this. But in order to mix drums, first we have to import the drums. So let's go ahead and do that. We have all these tracks here, hat, kick in, should be a kick out. Okay, it's just a kick in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and shift click all of these. Drag and drop them into the sequencer window. This should import all the drums. Okay, this is where it starts to take a little bit of time. Not too much, but just a little longer than what you would think. I'm gonna try and move the mic a tad closer to me. There we go. But yeah, while these are going, I just wanted to say a quick thank you for the 4,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Now let's hopefully try and get those long form videos, get them up in views, because as usual, you guys are rocking with the shorts. You guys are loving the constant carousel of SJ Sonic Brews, because that's what's been happening recently. Because that series has become like just advertisement for my channel, advertisement for my long form videos, that kind of thing. Alright, so now we have all these drum parts in here. So I think per assignment parameters, I'm supposed to go ahead and export this as is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I will be back in a minute. Alright, y'all, I'm back. And so, let's go ahead and organize these. Because first of all, we have a... Gotta do this first before anything else. If I could ever find my arrow. That was not my arrow at all. Let's go to the mix window here. That's where we're going to be spending most of the time here. So let's see what we have. We have the tom. I'm going to just change all these colors just so they're gray, just so they're easier to see. Oh, whoops, that was just for one color. That's for all of them. Alright, so now let's just organize these based off importance. So the kick's going to go first. We're going to have, what's next? Snare top. Okay, there's two snare tops for some reason. Two snare tops as well as a snare bottom. So these three are going to be very similar. And then we have the toms, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3. Room mics, overheads, and a hat mic. So let's just go ahead and play this, and we're going to go ahead and start adjusting levels. Kick's gonna be loudest. And now we're going to start panning. We haven't heard the toms yet, but we're just going to start panning because hi-hat typically goes on the right, far right, or far left, depending on your perspective. Perspective meaning, are you placing everything according to where the musician perspective, meaning when you're on the stage, or the audience perspective, meaning when you're off of the stage and actually watching the performance. Go ahead and add some more to the kick here, as well as the 3 snares here. where do the toms come in? Okay. So we're going to align these toms. Hang on. We're going to align the toms a little bit opposite of the hi-hat. So right around here should suffice. Around here. Alright, so now that's done. Let's see. I am just going to... I'm going to put all these in a single bus here. So now we have a drums bus we can then add effects to. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so what the compressor is doing is those percussive hits, like if I clap into the mic right here, it is minimizing the top end, minimizing the spike of the volume of that sound. And I actually forgot to export this, so I'm just going to go ahead and bypass this compressor and then export this file just for the assignment purposes. You don't have to actually do this. I'll be back in a second. Alright, I'm back and I just unprocessed the sound and just exported that just for the assignment parameters. So now let's keep on working with this. A couple things I want to do. I want to make this drum sound as dry as I can. The reason why I want to make this as dry as I can is so I can artificially create new room acoustics, like the room mics. I turn these down. The reason why I turn the room mic so far down is just so I can recreate the room myself. And then we will also go into EQing, what I typically like to do when it comes to EQing these drum parts. I might need to create a separate bus for the snare sound. Go and do that right quick. Route to the output. And then this snare section is going to that. So I'm just going to do that. All right, so next thing on the agenda would be the reverb plugin, which reverb I'm going to put after it's already been compressed. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go with this is my favorite reverb plugin I like to use on my drums and just anything really. Hear how much wider the space got? Just because we added a reverb plugin in there. Sounds way nicer. Alright, so now that we have created the space for the drums to live in and compress the sound so it's just a bit more even, now let's go and make some EQ changes to some of these sounds. We're going to start with the kick sound here. I'm just going to go up. Going to just cutting off all the high end on the kick, even though there isn't really any high end anyways, still something nice to do. Now on the snare, we can do several things here. That makes a lighter snare sound when we apply the low pass. Excuse me, high pass, low cut. Or if we applied a low pass and did it this way, we're going to provide more body for the snare sound. But since my kick drum is very boomy, I want the snare to kind of have an opposite effect. So I add a bit more of these high mids here just to bring a little more presence on the overall snare bus. And let's see, the toms, I feel like the toms I can leave alone. Yep, the tom sound I can leave alone. Let's go to, we have two sounds left, the hats and the overheads. The hat is going to have a nice high end here. Oh, I don't like that. Let's wait for this to start over here. All right. I'm going to have this be a lighter kit. So I can kind of add some. So the kick is providing the low frequencies. The snare, the toms and snares are providing the middle frequencies. So the hi-hat should provide the high frequencies at the top. Now the overhead mics, those are again referring to cymbals and hats. So I can also apply the same techniques that we did for the hi-hat onto these overhead microphones here. You get a little bit of air from the room when you add the high end there as well. So this room mic, I don't like. So I am going to try and, actually when the drums end, let's get rid of the room mic here. I am not a fan of it at all. Where's the room? Oh, no. No one's going to talk about the G1 I just hit when I said room. Room. That right there. Yeah, that was when you have a low voice, you got to play with it sometimes. Okay, so that's from all of the microphones. So now that sound has been compressed and there's been reverb added to it, is there any frequencies we want to bring out in the entire kit? Because that would be the last step, and then a limiter just to have it be like regular standard peak levels for your music, which usually for Spotify at least is -1 decibels of true peak. So let's go ahead and let's see. Now, occasionally some people will add distortion to their drums just to have there be a bit more of a gritty sound. So let's just to see what a gritty drum sound will sound like, turn us on. Oh no, it's gotta start over again. There are certain instances where you would want a sound like that, because that's actually a pretty cool sound. Like, I like that gritty, it's almost like an unpretty sound, but it's really cool. I'm not going to keep that, but it's just another cool thing you can play with. Delay is another thing you can play with, but not necessarily for drums. That wouldn't be a good option for drums. Let's go to this and go to a channel EQ. Let's actually do this before we hit the reverb. The reason why I switched the order, I want the EQ to change the volume of certain frequencies first before everything gets compressed, and then everything gets added into the space that I created with the reverb plugin here. And then last but not least, we're going to put a limiter on all of this, limiter slash maximizer, just so I can increase the volume. Oh. When it comes to limiting, you want to have it to where this is not being used, but it's at the tip of before it could start being used. So like the way I have it right now, if it went up any more, it's currently sitting at 8.6. That's either a 6 or an 8. I can't tell. If I went any further past that, like 7.8, 8.2, the limiter will start being used. And I don't want that sound squishing my drums. So we're just going to leave it at this, and here's the finished kit. I like it. So with the plugins that we use, compression, EQ, reverb, and a limiter, and just general track organization, we were able to make this drum kit sound a lot better. And with panning as well, we were able to put everything in the space that it needed to be. And also with the reverb plugin, we put that entire kit into a space that we created as opposed to the space that was already there thanks to the room mics, which we left some of it, but we wanted to create our own acoustics for that. So that's what we ended up doing. But yeah, that's basically my guide as to how to mix drums. Again, everybody's going to have different techniques. You ask 20 different producers how to mix drums, you're going to get 20 different answers. So just mess around with things until you think it sounds good. That's basically it for this video. I'm SJ, signing off.